Hi guys, welcome back to a new After Effects video. In this video we are going to learn how to create this 3D subscribe, like and button in After Effects. So if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please do subscribe and turn on the notification as well. So to start with our animation, we will create a new composition of 1920 into 1080. And once that is created, the next thing is we have to create a basic shape. So we'll select the shape tool and remove the stroke, and we'll select an appropriate color for the fill color. Here we are going to use solid color, so we'll just select a kind of a blue color, maybe a sky blue kind of color here, and we'll just create a small rectangle. Once a rectangle is created, we'll center the port point, and once that is done, we'll just align it to the center of our composition. The next thing is we have to turn this into a 3D layer. Once that is done, after turning that shape into a 3D layer, next is we are going to turn it to instead of classic 3D, we'll turn on Cinema 4D 3D. So we'll be able to extrude and do some extra things in the 3D shape. Once that is done, we'll just for the reference only, we'll just rotate the 3D layer a bit so we can see the sides as well. So we'll just rotate in the y-axis a little bit so we can see the backside and side view as well. After that, we can just go into the geometry options. There we'll just increase the extrusion depth, so we'll get a thickness in our 3D shape, so it will turn into a 3D shape. So we'll give a value of 120. At the moment we'll not be able to see the difference in color because we don't have a light, so we'll just create a spotlight and we'll just align it properly so we'll be able to see the 3D shapes properly. So here I just created a spotlight and I'm just aligning it so our shape is properly visible. Once that is done, you can just change the intensity of the light as many times as you want based on your requirement. Here the basic 120 is not enough, so we'll just increase it to maybe 200, maybe around 300 or something like that, so our shape is actually much more visible. So once that is done, our basic 3D shape is completed. The next thing is we have to create a basic animation of position and rotation for the shape, and we'll just name it as 3D shape as well. We'll name the layer as 3D shape. Once that is done, we'll just move to maybe 20 or 30 frames, and you can just find a proper rotation point for your first animation, and we can just reduce a bit of quality, and also it will be much easier for us to handle it. After that, we'll jump to maybe 30 frames or something like that, and we'll just add a keyframe for the Y rotation. So this is our default rotation value, and we'll add a position keyframe as well. After that, we'll go back to the 0 frame. There we'll just change the rotation value to a much different value, so we have a rotation and the scale when we actually animate the shape. So here I am giving a value of I'm experimenting with some values, and like I said, we can always change this value, and we'll move the position of the shape to the outside of our shape, so it will be coming from the bottom of our composition and moving and rotating at the same time. So once that is done, like I said, you can always change the values to whatever whatever kind of animation you are looking for. Here I'm just experimenting with these values, and after that we'll just add some easing to the layers animations, and we'll just make the easing a bit more sharper so we have a much more interesting animation. So right away you can see the animation is actually looking a bit better with the easing and all. So we'll just change the rotation values a bit more, so we have a much more rotation for our shapes. So now you can see the rotation is actually happening, but there is something weird about the rotation. And as you can see, the pivot is actually once we turn that into a 3D, pivot is actually not at the center of our shape. So we'll just go to the top view, and we'll just select the move pan behind tool, and we'll just move the pivot to the center of our 3D shape, 3D cube. Once that is done, we can just go to the default camera, and now you can see the animation is actually looking much better with the pivot is actually aligned at the center. And once that is done, you can just make any changes you want in the position and rotation values, and straight away you can see it's actually looking much better. And after that, we can just simply save our file. Once we save the file, we can actually I have few images of a bell button and like button download from the internet. So we'll just add the we'll add the like button. So it's a PNG image. We'll just drag and drop it into our composition, and we'll just scale and align it properly first. Once that is done, we'll just turn that also into a 3D layer, and then we can just adjust the rotation. We'll just adjust the rotation and see position of that layer, and we'll just roughly align that with our cube. Once that is done, we'll just parent that particular layer to our main 3D shape, so it will have that animation, rotation and position animation applied to that layer as well. And at this point, you can see it's actually not aligned properly. So just like before, it's not aligned properly, so we'll have to go to a different view. So we'll just go to the top view, so we'll be able to see where it's actually positioned. And as you can see, there is a big difference in the position. So we'll just move and rotate and align that like button layer to our cube once more properly. So once that is done, we'll just preview the animation once more, and we'll see how it actually animating. And as you can see, right now it's actually animating properly, and it's actually not moving around or anything like that. So this is our initial animation for our like button. So once that is done, we can just give maybe 15, maybe 20 frames. I'll just give a 15 frame pause. So we'll have a few seconds, maybe a few frames to see that animation, and we'll add a keyframe there. So we'll have a pause in between. Once that is done, we'll just go to the rectangle shape, and here we have to convert that rectangle into path. So we'll just right click the rectangle and select the convert to Bezier path option, and we'll add a keyframe for the path, and we'll add a keyframe for the fill color as well, so we can change the color of our shape as well. Then we'll just move to maybe 30 frames. There first we'll just select the pen tool, and we'll just extend the path a bit more, so we have a space for typing our subscribe text. So once that is done, then we can change the color. Instead of blue, we'll change it to red color, bright red color. After that, we can just adjust the rotation if you want, and here I'm just adjusting the rotation a little bit, so we can still see it's as a 3D layer. And once that is done, we can just adjust the position as well, so we can just maintain it at the center of our composition properly. Once that is done, we can just select all the layers, and we can just preview the animation. After that, we can just select all the layers, and we can just adjust the easing once more for all the layers. So we'll just select all of them, press F9 on the keyboard, and we'll go to graph editor and we'll make the easing a bit more sharper, so we have a bit more easing in the animation. So once that is done, you can see it's actually properly animating, and the colors and everything is actually changing correctly. Then we can just type in the text subscribe, and just like before, we'll just change the color of that particular layer, and send a port the port point for the text layer, and we'll just increase the size and things like that, and we'll just align the timing and position of that layer as well. And once it start extending, we don't need that like button to be there, so we'll just add a opacity animation to make it disappear. And by the time the text is actually the cube is actually extending, we need the text to be starting, so we'll just align the timing for that as well. After that, we'll go to text options and we'll just change the color to white, and we'll just increase the font size as well to align it with our 3D cube. And once all the alignment, everything is completed, we can just turn that text layer into a 3D layer as well. And just like before, we'll just make the rotation and scaling and things like that properly. And we can go to top view. Here we'll just align the position and the rotation, so it will be much easier for us to handle. And just like before, we'll just select the pan behind tool and align the center port for the text layer in this view, so it will be much easier for us to animate the text layer, align the text layer to a 3D cube properly. So as you can see here, I'm just rotating and aligning the text layer. And once that is done, just like previously done, we can just parent it to our main cube layer, and it will actually animate according to whatever animation we'll be making there. So once that is done, the next thing is we'll just adjust the timing of that appearance of that text layer once more. After that, we can just add an animate scale animate for our text layer. First we'll add a scale select property, and we'll make it 0, and in the start range selector, we'll just add a maybe 2-3 seconds, and we'll just make it 100. So gradually each of these letters will be scaling up, and we'll have a symbol animation along with the cube extending. And after that, we can add an easing for the scaling animation for our text layer as well. And after adding the animation, you can just like before, you can just adjust the timing of the text layer, so it will match with the cube, the cube's expansion as well. This all part is actually experimental. You can just change, instead of scaling, you can add opacity or a position, whatever you want. It's actually up to each of our preferences, but these are all basic things we can do. So once you are happy with the animation, then just like before, we'll just give a 15 maybe 20 frames gap, so the viewers will have a bit of time to notice the subscribe button. And after that, we'll start animating the cube for our final bell button animation as well. So just like before, we'll first what we'll do is, after the posing, first we'll just make the cubes smaller, and we'll just change the color to change the path animation, rotation and position to its original beginning state, and we'll just change the color to a bit of a green, bluish green kind of color, and we can rotate it into a different angle, so we'll have a difference from our beginning animation. So after the pose, we can just see it's actually rotating to a different position, and by the time it's rotating, we don't need that text animation, so we can just either simply you can add an opacity. Here I'm just reversing the animation. Instead of scaling up, it will be scaling down. So after that you can just adjust the keyframes so it will match with the rotation of the shape as well. So once you are happy with it, just like the before, you can just add the next image, which is our bell button. So like I said before, I have already downloaded an image for the bell button. Here I'll just import it once more. So we'll just drag and drop it onto our composition. Here you can see it's actually not a PNG. Obviously we have to remove the background color, so I'm just adding a linear color key. First we'll select one of the colors, white or gray, and we can just add the second color to the linear key, so it will be much easier for us to handle. And in order to change the color, we'll just add a fill effect to that layer, and we can just change the color to black. After that we can just scale and align it to our cube. Then we can just go to the top view and rotate and position our bell button to the cube as well. So once it's aligned just like before, we can parent it to our cube, so it will animate along with the cube as well. So we can just adjust the timing, and as you can see, it's actually animating along with the cube properly. And we can just add a simple opacity animation for it to appear as well. So we'll start add a simple opacity, and once that is done, you can see it's actually simply animating properly. So the only thing here is you can see when we rotated the cube to the other side, the 3D part is actually not visible because the light is actually coming from the other way. So we have to adjust the lighting a little bit, and we have to give a pose for that our animation as well. Once the pose is added, you can just reverse the animation, so it's actually going outside our composition as well. So we can just review the animation once more, how it's actually looking. So first the cube will come, and then we have subscribe button, then we have bell button. After that it will be going back to going out of our frame. So we'll see in full quality and how it's actually looking. And once we are happy with the animation, then we can add in any extra things. Like I said before, we can add extra lights, or you can have any other effects. You can do that once you are happy with the animation. So you can just experiment with these basic things, and you will be able to create a really interesting animations with this basic 3D effects and animations. So I'm just adjusting the light a little bit, so we may have a we'll be able to see everything a bit more properly. And if it's still not up to your liking, you can just add a ambient light later on, so we'll have a overall light instead of one particular light. So we'll just do that only. We'll just add a new light here. This time we'll, instead of point light, spotlight, we'll just select ambient light, and we'll reduce the intensity to maybe 50 or something like that. So we'll have a basic lighting for our entire composition, and we have a visibility for all part of our animation as well. So I hope you guys like this 3D subscribe button animation, and you all will make and create something interesting with this animation. So in order to make a final adjustment, we are going to add a round corner effect for the shape, and we'll just add an effect of 20. So the edges will be a bit rounded. That will give a much more finished look for our subscribe button. And like I said, instead of a solid color, if you add a gradient color, you will get a completely different animation. and you can experiment with these values and you will be able to create something much more interesting. So I hope you guys liked the video, and see you in the next video. Thank you for watching.